welcome to our January Lunch and Learn with Shelby Duplessis, and she is with the Empire Group. She is now the president of the Empire Group companies. Congratulations. The immediate past president of Leadership West and a proud mother of 2 children. Previously, she served as managing partner at CMX, a Phoenix-based civil engineering firm, for 12 years until its closure in 2009, and more recently at Bowman Consulting, a national civil engineering firm, which she served as a senior project manager for nearly 6 years. Shelby has more than 23 years of experience in land development, civil engineering, zoning, and entitlement in the Phoenix and now Las Vegas area. She is responsible for team management, client project, and municipality coordination, public presentation and relationships, and civil design. She has a significant involvement with capital improvement projects for various municipalities, including the city of Phoenix, Avondale, Peoria, Laveen, Surprise, town of Gilbert, and is very knowledgeable in their processes. She received her Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Arizona State University. Just had to throw that out there. Sorry, U of A fans. And her areas of expertise include land development, project management, facilitation, and understanding of municipal capital improvement projects, infrastructure design and improvements, cost estimating, bidding, value engineering, and much more. While not busy, she enjoys family time, community service, and I'm going to add, because you didn't say this, traveling. I met Shelby. We were both in the same class 20, best class ever. We have to just say that. There's our little thing sign. And she's just an incredible individual. She just gives her heart and soul to projects, to her organization she serves, to her friendships and everything. And so we're just in for a treat today. She is just a wealth of knowledge and a leader here and just a rising star, and really the sky's the limit for her. And we can't wait to hear she shares today. So thanks, Shelby.
Wow. Well, thank you. That was very nice. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate all of that. I do enjoy very much what I do. I actually moved here from Maine to go to ASU and never went back. And so I love it here. I love all of the friends. So many of you are on today, so thanks for joining. That's the best part of what I do, is getting to know everybody and having the best of friends with all of you. So thank you so much. Today, I just want to talk about, I guess, where the market is going and where it's trending, and what we see as we go through that. So as Michelle said, I recently was promoted to president here at Empire Group of Companies. And so just a little bit about us. I was engineering with Bowman for many years and doing a lot of engineering work for Empire. And after 6 months or more of them pursuing me and trying to get me to leave engineering to come over here, I finally did. I've been with the same group. After we left CMX, they started the Bowman company. And so it just was what I knew. It was what I was comfortable with. And it was hard for me to leave and come here. And it was by far the best decision I ever made. When I got here, basically we were doing cash deals where we have a pool of cash from many different investors. And that allowed us to go in and purchase bulk of land, several properties every year for cash. So we didn't have to go through a lot of the due diligence process or the holding because of title issues or lending. And so it allowed us to do quick deals, which was putting us in a much better position to be able to close quicker, allowed the seller to adjust the price, if you will. And so with those quick deals, it put a lot of immense pressure on my team to make sure that what we bought with only 30 days to decide went where it was supposed to go. And so Leadership West for me has been huge because of those relationships. Sometimes, especially in cities, it's very complicated. The difference between what staff thinks and what the council thinks, the vision, where we're going, it doesn't always make sense on paper to us when we're looking at it. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of understanding. And sometimes I like to think outside the box all the time. And so it's working with the cities to say, the quick answer is no, but what if we did it this way or that way and make it a benefit for everybody? And so a lot of our projects became very complicated because of that. But we had to do those discussions and get a temperature on whether it was worth the risk of buying the land, and then make that quick close. And then the pressure was on that I said I could get it done. And so now go get it done. So we did that for several years, my first several years here actually. And during that time, we sold our first property at 99th Avenue and Indian School to Next Metro. I don't know if you're all familiar with them. They do a lot of the what we call the bungalow projects, where it's detached for rent homes. And we prayed every day that they changed their mind and canceled, because we loved the deal and we wanted to learn and do that deal ourselves. They closed. We watched it very closely so that we could learn from them, and then decided our next mode would be to still purchase property for cash. However, then keep and hold and build it ourselves. We see the influx of people moving here to Maricopa County is 300 a day. That's 100,000 people a year. And seeing that much influx here to the Valley started for many reasons. It's a great place to be, as a lot of us have migrated here and not left. But two, because it's a great place for retirement. It's also been an influx as things have been so crazy in the world, especially this year. It has only strengthened our position, in that we see so many people moving here from Manhattan, from New York. Manhattan's vacancy rate right now is 28%, and that's because everyone wants out of the city. Same within California. They locked down pretty quickly. It's so densely populated in areas, and so they wanted to get out of that dense population and come here. And so that's been, for probably during COVID, two things. The first being in Manhattan, when they're in the high rises, controlled air, everyone's so close together that, as we all saw, COVID spread quickly and it scared people. And then two, the fact that everybody's learned, as most of you are all at home right now, you can work from home and you don't have to be in the city. And so we see a lot of people moving here for that reason too. They find it's a better lifestyle or place to raise their families. We have great schools, and everything's improved so much over the last 10 and 20 years, and much because of all of you on here. ASU, U of A, all of the schools and opportunities that we offer, we see more and more people moving here. And so with that, we decided that we needed to grow our leap, I guess, in that we need to provide more housing. The housing shortage right now is, I know it doesn't seem like it to a lot of people that aren't in the circle, but there's a housing shortage, and it's going to get worse. So anyone that's tried to buy or sell recently, it's a seller's market. There's not nearly that many homes on the market. And then with that, the vacancy rates and the rentals and in apartments are very limited. And so there's just not a lot of opportunity. We've also found, since the recession, that people that lost their homes or changed their work, changed their lifestyles, they no longer want the 1 acre and 3/4 acre lots. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of upkeep. We're actually seeing a lot more people that are wanting to have the walkability and the connection to a town square or a restaurant or entertainment to walk to. And so all of this has evolved so much, and that's what we do, is study the market all the day and try to figure out what people are looking for and where can we be teed up and ready to go. You're going to see so many people getting into this market with the village concept that we're doing, because that's what all of our market studies and analysis are showing. There are people that want to still own. I'll always want to own my home, but there's a lot of people that want to rent. They want a turnkey home. They want to be able to come home and have all of the amenities and not worry about if the toilet breaks, if the lights are out, or anything. They don't want to maintain their backyards. They don't want to pay a gym membership anymore. They don't want to have to worry about maintaining a pool. And so there's so many things in this village concept that we've seen at that 99th and Indian School that we have decided that we're building 40 of these sites in Maricopa County in the next 5 years. So we have one open now, our first one, which is in Goodyear. Very exciting. We just walked it yesterday. It's beautiful. And Laura, we're at 90% occupancy right now with a wait list, trying to move more people in. Our sweet spot is 97%. So it's been amazing. The feedback's amazing. We just did a 2-hour walking tour yesterday with our entire design team and construction team, and met with residents, neighbors, and just talked about the community. And so making sure that we are hitting all the sweet spots, and making sure that people go and they see something and they don't even really know why they like it, but it's because of all of the detail. It's because of all of the personal touches we've put into things that we think makes that difference. And so it's been a huge learning curve for me. Coming from engineering, I never thought about how many lights should be in a closet. I never thought about, where a shelf should be placed. I never thought about any of those things. I thought of the boring details, how wide the street should be, where the curb should go, where the meter pack should go. And so all of that though plays a piece into this design. And so it's very complicated in that there's so much that happens in such a small space. So what is the village? The village is exactly what I just described, a turnkey property where you go home, you pull into a leasing center, much like an apartment complex, but it's a Class A top rent home. You're renting a home instead of an apartment. It's a 1-bedroom home, 2-bedroom home, or 3-bedroom home. There's garage options. There's mini storage options at the end of each of the garages if you just want to store things and you don't actually need a garage to park. When you pull in, it's a gated community. You have all of the amenities in the world. You have the community center with a world-class gym. You have the resort style pool, a full kitchen for entertainment and group settings with large screen TVs mounted on the walls, fireplaces and fire pits throughout the community, cornhole. We have dog park at every facility. One of the things we just learned yesterday is that it's very hard to maintain the dog park because of the wear and tear from the dogs and how to perfectly water the dog park. So we've decided as of yesterday to take out most of the rock. Actually, we had a rock border, increase the turf and put in artificial turf. So then the next question was, how do you keep the turf cool so that the dog's feet don't burn in the summer? And so that's why these walks are so helpful, to listen to the neighbors' concerns, but also have all of our designers there to come up with a solution. The solution was we're putting, much like you would see in a volleyball court, a watering system that you can hit the button on the side of the wall and water the dog park down before the dogs enter to cool the turf off for their feet. Or you could, if everyone agrees, use the water to let the dogs run through the water. If you don't want to bring the dog home wet, we have the valet dog washing station where you can actually take the dog and do grooming outside. That way you're not doing it in your apartment. You're not using the tub and making a mess. And so there's the dryer, there's it's a whole gated area so that you can contain the dog that's trying to run away. It's a huge bin. So up to a 100-pound dog, if you need, can go into this big tub. And so that in every community makes it very dog friendly. Dog doors in every unit. We have the yoga platform. We have the valet trash and recycle service. So you just put your trash and recycle out your front door at 8 p.m. every day, and someone comes around and picks it up within 20 to 30 minutes. So you don't see trash receptacles everywhere. Makes the site much more usable. We've opted to do underground storage on every one of our communities. That way all of the open space is 100% usable. We usually have, depending on the site, a walking trail, a DG walking trail around the outer perimeter of the site to increase activity. Same with the dogs. We're going back and adding in dog exercise stations in each of the dog parks, so they have things to do in the dog park. And so every time we see a resident or a competitor, we look at what they're doing. One competitor raised their ceiling plate to 9 feet. We now have 10-foot plates. So we just constantly are looking for what can we do to make it better? What can we do to make it more desirable? We now have added a car washing station, so you can go and wash your car. That's hard to do when you're renting, obviously, because you don't have that typical yard space and spigots. And so working through some of those things, hearing from the residents yesterday that they need plugins at the pool, at the lawn chairs, so they can plug their phones or their tablets and computers in when they want to work outside. So we'll be going back and adding those actually at every site. Car charging stations, the wave of the future is the car charging. And so we had several car charging locations. However, with that, now we're adding them into every garage, and we're adding 40 more car charging stations throughout the entire community. So a lot of creativity and collaboration, obviously, to figure out what makes it more desirable and where do these communities go. And so with that, we've been fortunate, as I said, our first one is open now, 90% occupancy rate in Goodyear. We had anticipated at least 6 more months to hit 50%. So the weight and the desire for these units is unbelievable. The 4-sided architecture, the rock embellishment, everything makes it feel homey. One thing we learned on Pebble Creek now that we've opened is that the streets, the city requirements are 24.5-foot streets, and it's just tight. It just feels tight when you're trying to maneuver and drive. So now we've gone to 27-foot streets to make it easier for parking and just to make it more open. And as we do this, as you can imagine, our density is dropping. We're going from 12 units, now we're down to about 10.5 units per acre. But it lives better, it feels better. The next concept that I've been working on that I would be excited about is to offer a coffee station at the gate. So when you leave in the morning or come home, you can actually use an app to order coffee and have someone at the gate ready to pass you your coffee when you're leaving. And so we're working with someone that actually Cheryl had introduced us to that has, I think, a coffee place in Goodyear and is looking in Avondale as well. And so they're anxious to work with us on that. So I think it's working in the future of deciding what people need to be comfortable and desire that type of living. Again, the purchase homes are never going to go away. There'll always be some people that want 1-acre lots. There'll always be people that want the traditional single family home to buy. But at the same time, there's those that want a lifestyle like what I just described, where you get the resort style pool and it's just turnkey. We see a lot of people, especially unfortunately during divorce, it still gives one of the parties a place to go that still feels like a home and not an apartment. It gives security to being in the gated community, the way that the site's laid out, all of the units face in towards each other. So you almost have your own little courtyard of neighbors that you get to know. We have security 24 hours on the site. And so it makes it very inviting and nice. It's the same management company that we've created with Dale at Stellar Homes, and he'll be managing all of the properties. We're actually looking at bringing in a lifestyles coordinator that would go from community to community and do activities and just, yoga, bike instruction, whatever the community is wanting. So just trying to be different, trying to stand out. All of our sites are called The Village. Our next site will be in Glendale. We're opening in June at 53rd and Olive. Our third site is at 83rd and Olive in Peoria. That one will open next spring. We'll be breaking ground next week in Phoenix, right over by the Dodger Stadium on Camelback and 107th Avenue. Following that, we'll be breaking ground hopefully within a month in Avondale at the Boulevard. Next will be our Tullison site at 99th and Van Buren. And then the next one after that will be Schnepp Farms. We actually are purchasing a piece of Schnepp Farms and incorporating the farm into our design. It will be walkable to the farm and actually looking to rent to those that work at the farm and those that want to use the farm. And so it's exciting to work with each city because every community is different. Peoria was very important to them to maintain the integrity and history of the farming and irrigation that happens right there in Old Town Peoria. And so we actually put community gardens throughout the site. So each of the homes will be associated with a garden that they can grow herbs or flowers, whatever they want. If they don't maintain the garden, our management company obviously will take over to make sure it doesn't become an eyesore. And then a lot of split rail fencing and just things to tie into that feel. Then we got to Avondale. That was probably our most challenging so far in that they wanted it to be walkable. They wanted it to be more like an urban feel than a traditional gated, everything turned inside. That one was a hard sell for me. Coming back to the office, it's a huge architectural change. And I am so excited to see when it's built. We have 14 units facing the outer perimeter. The front door will have a walkway up to the sidewalk so that they'll actually be facing out. I think it will open the community up actually a lot. And I think that it will end up being more desirable, those units, to be able to walk over to the boulevard as the city starts to fill that with some entertainment and restaurants and things for people to have that urban feel. So like I said, every community is different. Tullison's going to be a little bit different. That one will be the Village at Paseo de Lucius. We'll be tying in with their downtown community center. And so I love that every community is different and fits into the city and the community that we're building with, so that it feels like it's a part of that community and not just dropped into that space. And so it makes it very challenging. I think sometimes my team avoids eye contact when I walk in the office with some of these great ideas, because they're the ones that get it done. I come in and say, here's the idea. And they're like, oh crap, how do we get it done? Sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but they figure it out. We figure it out. We pull in the cities, and we really spend a lot of time. I spent so much time with Councilwoman Hunt driving around Gilbert, looking at the split rail fencing, looking at colors. She wanted East Coast colors, so the buildings will be blues and yellows instead of your desert tones. And so I think it will just be nice because every community will feel different. So for us, that's the wave of the future. We do have high rises. I'm excited that we're working on our third high rise right now. The first one is at Central and McKinley. It's already opened and leased out. We were planning on having a Leadership West event there this past spring and couldn't because of COVID, but we will after things are better, and we'll be up on the roof deck, and there's a pool and everything out there. But our third property on the high rise is called the Jet. You may have seen it in the New York Times in October. That will be 44 stories. It will be the tallest, largest building in the state of Arizona, the third largest west of the Mississippi. So that's exciting. So it's fun to work on different things, but I really love the village. And so with the 40 plans that we have coming forward, and I think I have about 20 right now in escrow that I haven't even told you about, just because we haven't actually finalized and closed on those. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions. That was a lot of information, I know.
So I would just like to say, this is Cheryl from Avondale. When I grew up, I want to be Shelby Duplessis.
Oh my God.
And I want to live in your product because it sounds like a vacation.
Yeah.
I think everyone on the phone can probably agree with me. Shelby, I think your leadership is such an incredible asset. I know not only in the West Valley, but the metro region as a whole, your flexibility and nimbleness to kind of respond to this ever-changing market, the creativeness that you come with. You know, I can speak from a community perspective, your responsiveness, just being, you know, at the table and open to ideas rather than being a typical developer that, you know, just says, hey, this is what we're offering, take it or leave it kind of thing. You're truly a community partner. And I think that's what's going to set you apart in the market in general as you take over Empire. So congratulations on your promotion. I would like to ask one quick question. I just got off a call with Jim Rounds, an economist that many of you might know or have heard of. And so Jim was talking about some of the legislative changes that need to be made on affordable housing. And I'm wondering if in any of your projects, you've talked about the equality that comes with those social determinants and the affordable housing.
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl, for your kind words. I appreciate that. And it's because of you and others and relationships that have helped me to do what I do and to work as a developer that works with the community and wants to be at the table to hear. I think sometimes developers get a bad rap, but at the same time, don't come to the table and always think dollars instead of thinking how it could maybe work together to come up to a better solution. So for right now, no, we haven't looked at anything with the affordable housing only because of the template we have. It's actually raising the bar and it's giving that opportunity of a lifestyle choice at a higher resort level feel, if you will. And so that doesn't mesh well with the affordable housing. And so it hasn't been a model that we've looked at for our properties.
This is Kathy. I have a question.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Sorry, I just realized I wasn't on mute, so I hope you guys didn't hear me typing and it wasn't distracting. I apologize if it was.
No, I didn't.
Anyway, I agree with Cheryl. It made me want to move when you were describing that lovely place. But I recently, I want to touch on you as a leader. You're such a strong, amazing leader. You make everybody feel included and welcome, and I just love that about you. I love your energy. And you recently shared with me and some others about your personal PPP plan, and it spoke so strongly to me. I thought maybe you'd share that with us.
Sure. So what Kathy's talking about, I've spent a lot of time growing this year. Probably everybody has had to find something to fill this time of COVID. I'm a very outgoing people person. And so it's really hard I love seeing all of you on Zoom, but I am so tired of Zoom. So I needed to find a way to get through this time. And so I've spent a lot of time meditating this year and just really personal growth and improvement. And so what Kathy's talking about is some words, positive, persistent progression. And so that's my mantra that I look at every morning on my vision board. And so everything I do, I just make sure I'm doing one of those things. I'm always trying to stay positive and persistent and going towards that progression that I'm looking for. So as long as every step we're doing is helping us to make progression, then that makes me happy. So thanks, Kathy, for sharing that.
I love that. And I think leaders can learn so much from each other and how they keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is the goal for them to be, are they active adult communities, or are they the goal to be all kinds of demographic and age and such, family and?
Yep, all demographics. And so we actually, I would say the most desirable group that wants these units right now, unfortunately, are millennials that are just coming out of college with a lot of debt. And so they can afford the rent with their jobs, but they are having a difficult time with that school debt to have a down payment for a house. And so they want something more like a house, but can't really get into, they could afford the payment of a house because rents are very equivalent to purchase right now, but it's that down payment aspect. And so that's probably the number one user that we see. But second, it's actually the millennials again. They don't have an interest in ownership. They the property manager said, yeah, those are the people that live here. Those are the vehicles they drive. And so they just are choosing not to want to buy. They obviously can afford to, and the rents are steeper only because of the amenities that are offered and because of the Class A type of lifestyle, and it's more like a resort. So
Shelby, great job. And I echo everything that was said about you from Kathy and Cheryl. You inspire all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see these facilities. I'd love to do a tour or take a tour on them. So hopefully we have something planned because they sound absolutely amazing. I'm just curious, in downtown, we had that huge switch to all the high rises, the luxury condos and high rises. Is that going to continue, or do you see it shifting away from that?
I think it will still continue. And so with our jet planned, I mean, that's 44 stories. That will be a mixed use. So there will be some commercial and retail on the bottom floors, but it will be a lot of condos. We're seeing a lot of people, I don't think he's on here, but fellow developer, Bob Bambauer with Sunbelt, and he lived way out in Vistancia, raised the kids. And once they were raised and gone, he actually is renting a condo downtown. And so people are desiring that downtown feel, the walkability. The city has come a long way. That revitalization and everything they've done down there is amazing. With the light rail, our site on Central McKinley is right on the light rail. So it makes it very desirable. So again, it's all about choice. There's so many different people that want different things, whether they want the ownership, they want the rent, but they want something more rural, or they want that high-rise condo walkability downtown feel.
Shelby, this is Saravanan. Very proud to serve with you on the board. You've always sounded and come across as a visionary, and I think your work is reflective of that. I was just browsing through some of your projects, and it's fascinating to see how ideas can collide and create a new, unique selling point. That's primarily what I see this as. So one question I have is with COVID and the pandemic, there seems to be sort of an inflection point in terms of the mixing of work and life. Do you see in some of your future properties perhaps a deeper emphasis on facilitating work in addition to life?
Definitely. And so I think that's a challenge in what that looks like. We've added all of the higher end fiber optics and everything into the homes and on the property. And we work with a utility specialist that helps to connect all of that with the smart technology in homes, with the, the Nest and the Ring and then with all the fiber optic options in the home to make sure that they can work from home and have what they need, as well as in the community center. A lot of people, because of this work from home, people are so tired of being in their home, they could actually go out and there's workstations in our community center. So they can go and still be part of the community center, still have some interaction, but then have like a coffee shop area. So there's, you know, a coffee making station in there. And so you can make coffee work in the community center with workstations. So for now, I think that's where we get to, but then continue to meet with our residents to hear what we're missing and where we could improve.
Thank you for that. And we're just finishing up Schnepp Farms Elementary School. So
oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Under construction
awesome.
right now. Yeah.
I'm so excited about that one. I actually, so I raised my kids going to Schnepp Farms every year. And so they had a heart attack when they, you know, I was the evil developer for about 30 seconds when they were in the living room and saw what I was working on. And I was going to ruin Schnepp Farms. I'm like, no, calm down. I said, we're doing a 15-acre undeveloped portion of the farm. They own 600 acres actually at that farm. So the 15 acres, I mean, you wouldn't even know it's part of their property. So we're not touching the farm, nothing's changing. But Sherry Koschel works with me here at Empire, and we actually went out to Schnepp Farms for a night and glamped. They have 1970 Airwind, I think is what they called it, campers. And so we went and stayed in a camper and hung out with Mark and Carrie Schnepp for 24 hours to really see what the farm felt like and to really understand and learn more of the history so we can incorporate that into our color boards and our architecture and some timelines as we develop our community center as part of the decorative feel inside to tell the story of the farm and the influence it's had on Arizona. So.
Hi, Shelby, this is Mark. Question for you in regards to energy efficiency and sustainability regarding the communities. So I was browsing through the site as well, looked at some of these homes. They obviously are designed for energy efficiency, which is great to see. I was curious, have you partnered or discussed with maybe like Arizona Public Service on potential community solar type projects for these homes, or have you looked at any on-site generation, centralized generation, out of curiosity?
We haven't yet, but I think that we have a great opportunity, especially with the carports, the canopies and some of the roofs. And so really this has been a huge learning curve, and I feel like we're almost over the hump finally of all the sweet spots, how we get the right fiber optics and communications plan and APS and SRP, and these meter packs are, I mean, a necessary evil. They're so ugly, and how do you screen them but still provide safety for access? And so I think that we finally have gotten over the hump with most of the cities that we're working in, as well as APS and SRP, and now we'll be afforded the opportunity to start studying some of those other opportunities to better handle some of that generation because of the fact that we're adding in all of these car charging stations and just ways that we can become better partnered with the environment and giving back as well.
Definitely seems like a great opportunity, certainly to incorporate more sustainability. I'm glad you're looking at that. You know, it's I'd like to see adding the EV charging stations. That's fantastic. That push there is, I mean, there's expected to be over 18 million electric vehicles on the roads in the next decade. So right. That's great to see that. There's opportunities for maybe centralized battery storage for home, you know, for sites such as this, you know, and like I said, maybe centralized generation for, you know, PV generation and stuff like that. Just something to consider. But follow-up question, utilities, I assume, are based on the individual homes. You don't have, are utilities included by chance in rent? I'm just.
No.
Okay.
Yep, utilities are not included. We don't do master meter except on our high rises. Okay. And so everybody's metered individually. And then we actually are putting in, because you just never know what happens in the future market. And so we are putting in individual water meters so that in the event that this ever wants to be flipped to ownership versus rent, it sets it up for that opportunity a little bit easier. It still will be complicated, just like any apartment conversion to a condo. And we saw that happening and then they all reverted back. So we're just trying to think ahead so that, because that's one of the questions we get from a lot of the cities is what happens in 20 years when people are tired of renting and now want to own again. And so we're trying to think ahead of all of those ideas. But what is your background, Mark? Do you do energy sustainability projects or?
Yeah, I work in the electric utility industry, and I work for Burns McDonnell, 1898 and Co. And we do a lot of energy efficiency type work with APS, with SRP, other utilities as well. So if you have any interest in talking further in that, certainly reach out. Feel
That's
free.
exactly where I was going. So I will for sure, because I would love to brainstorm on that and what we could challenge my team with. That
Sounds
would be
great.
great.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Shelby, on Monday, the city of Goodyear has a work session to talk about the multifamily housing. We're getting a lot of pushback from residents saying you've got too many apartments, you got too many of this and that. And so I was interested to hear the trends, and it is very encouraging to hear that the Harvard Square is 90% full. And so what can you tell me about overall trends? So that we're making good decisions, because I understand not everybody wants or is able to get a single family.
Right, exactly. And it used to be probably 20 years ago when I started this, it was that they weren't able to get a single family purchase. Now it's not only that, it's more that they just don't want to. They want the turnkey. And so that what you're dealing with right now with your city, every city is, and that pushback. And that's always been my number one pushback when I go in. I try to do my own zoning meetings. Only when they become very contentious, then do I hire a zoning attorney. I like to be upfront and take the brunt of the questions and really develop that rapport with the neighbors. It's not always fun, but that's the biggest challenge, is they think that renters are not good. They think that they bring in the bad, they're not community, they're not invested in the community. They're not valuable. They don't care and take care of their properties. And so in a property like this, it's actually the best of both worlds. It still gives your people a choice of renting or buying, but it's a higher end. And then with the management company that's maintaining the property, and then they have the security as well, it actually ends up increasing values around them. It's not like a typical apartment complex. So we're maintaining their backyard, which every backyard has a tree and artificial turf. So you don't end up with some of the property issues that overflow from a typical rental company by having an on-site management company. And so, but you still run into, though, what if we sell and then the next buyer doesn't have that? And so it's, I think, a lot of CC&Rs and leasing requirements that are put right into the lease. And then unfortunately trying to get the residents to understand that all renters aren't bad. And usually when I have that conversation, they must have been very fortunate then to have been rich right out of the gate and able to buy a home right out of high school or college, because that wasn't my experience. And I cared about what I rented, and most people do. And so it's usually those continued conversations to help get them over the hump. Residents especially, they're scared of change. They're scared of the unknown. And it's hard for anybody, especially the cities, to predict what's going to happen with any properties in 20 years. I mean, even a single family development can go downhill, especially if they don't, in my opinion, have an HOA. I know a lot of people don't like HOAs, but it does a lot of good to make sure things don't start to get out of control.
It's interesting, the trend is so dog friendly now. I remember years ago renting, I've always had dogs and how difficult it was. And I just really appreciate how that's so integrated into the life now. And it's just, things change. So thank you.
Things do change. That is true. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. We are just a little bit past time. We appreciate you all coming today to listen. Shelby, thank you so much for getting us updated on this new product that you guys are introducing, and how you guys are stepping up the bar and really just answering a piece of the puzzle, right, of solving this West Valley growth issue here. And thank you for all the thoughtful questions here online. We will send out to those that registered. We'll go ahead and send out an email with Shelby's contact information if you're okay with that. And then that way,
yes,
people that want to reach out can go ahead and circle back with you.
Yeah. And Mark, will you reach out to me with that? That way we can connect. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.